Hello everyone, in this Blender video tutorial we will be modeling a magic lamp. Let's begin by adding a circle with 16 vertices, rotate it 90 degrees along the x-axis. Can already pick a smooth shading, add a subdivision surface modifier with 2 subdivisions. Edit mode, and let's add a face in that circle. Now let's extrude it along the y-axis, maybe a bit more, scale it down, move it up a bit, extrude again, scale down again, and move it up again. Now let's make sure this box here is checked, so that we select all the vertices and not just those that are visible, also those that are behind the visible ones, like this. Extrude along the y-axis, extrude again, scale down a bit, and again, move these up and rotate them. Extrude again, rotate, scale down, extrude again. Make sure your loop is perpendicular to your model. And one last extrusion, scale down, remove this face. Maybe this is a little bit long. Let's use like that. Now let's add 4 loop cuts here in the middle section. Give some smoothness a bit like this. Now let's go to the bottom view. I'm going to select 16 faces, create a stand for this lamp. Let's extrude them. Rather, insert a face, because that would be too big. And go into loop tools and make them into a circle. Scale them to 0 along the z-axis. Scale them down a bit again. Then down along the z-axis. Like this. And extrude. Add some loops. Select all the vertices at the very bottom. Enable proportional editing again. Sharp fall off. We're gonna scale them down, scale them up, I mean, along the x and y axes. Like this. Now apply rotation and scale, and we're gonna select this one vertex here at the bottom of the spout. Use a smooth fall off, and we're gonna pull it. Like this. Now we're gonna go into top view, grab another 16 faces. I'm gonna create an opening at the top of the lamp. Make them into a circle. Scale them down a bit. Scale them to 0 along the z-axis and move them up. And we'll remove those faces. Maybe we can make them a bit bigger. Now let's add a solidify modifier. Give some thickness to this lamp. Make sure to apply rotation and scale frequently, so you don't get bad surprises toward the end. Let's go 0.12 maybe. Yeah, that looks about right. Can already apply this modifier. Now we're gonna create a cap for this lamp. So let's select this edge here, edge loop, and we're gonna snap the cursor to the middle of this selection. We're gonna add a single vertex, extrude it along the y-axis. Gonna draw the shape of the cap. Make sure the last vertex has a y-coordinate of 0. Add a screw modifier. Check flip and merge vertices. And extrude it, scale it up along the axis a bit. Move it down. Gonna add a subdivision surface modifier with 2 subdivisions. Can apply the screw modifier. Now let's select the very bottom loop and I'm gonna bevel this loop. This, and maybe move it down so that it's resting on the lamp. So it's a bit big along the x-axis. Scale it down. Right. Now we're gonna add a handle so we can grab this lamp. So let's add a circle rotated 90 degrees along the y-axis. Scale it down a bit. About here. Now let's select this face and remove it. Select the loop. And we're gonna add a grid instead, which will offset so that it looks straight. Scale those 3 vertices along the z-axis to 0. Move this one down. Scale these 2 along the x-axis. So that looks about straight. And grab the 2 top faces. Move it up like this. And extrude and rotate. Again, make sure to keep the final loop perpendicular to the mesh. So we're gonna connect these two faces with the two over here. Let's make them a bit smaller first, scale them down to 0 along the z-axis. I'm gonna delete them. I'll delete these two. I'm gonna create some faces to join them. Now we can remove the circle. Maybe we can give this handle a bit of thickness. So grab inner loop, make sure to grab all the vertices and not just the visible ones. I'm gonna scale them down on the Y and Z axis. Maybe we can move these a bit, make it look smoother. Let's turn this to 0 for now so we can see what we're doing better. Alright, handle looks nice. We can decorate this handle a little bit. But first, let's rotate this lamp 180 degrees already, like this, and scale it down a bit. Well, let's add a loop here. Move it up a bit to keep the shape of the handle smooth. Let's grab all those faces. We're gonna extrude them with loop tools, make them into a circle, scale them down to 0 along the normal z-axis, scale them down. Extrude again. Rotate along the x-axis. Let's move these, make the shape smoother. All right. We're gonna add a loop here. Let's grab this edge and subdivide it. Now let's grab those two faces and extrude them. Scale them down a bit. Rotate, and we're gonna create some sort of spiral here. create another one under the lamp. I mean, the handle of the lamp at least. So let's grab two faces again. Extrude them. Rotate. Go. Now let's add a loop here in the stand. Grab all the faces that we just created. And extrude them, scale them up. Give the stand some sort of back curvature. I'm gonna create some sort of circular loop around the top of the lamp. Move this down, this one too. Can reduce the subdivisions to 0, so let's see what we're doing better. Maybe make it bigger. This looks like a circle. Apply rotation and scale. I'm gonna symmetrize this lamp on the x-axis. The other side also looks like a circle, but we've created some unwanted vertices here, so let's merge them. Yeah, we've added some parts of the lamp, so let's merge them. Spin around, make sure we haven't forgotten any. Okay. Maybe we can make this handle looks a bit rounder. So let's grab those vertices. Enable proportional editing with a smooth fall off and scale them down along the x-axis a bit. Right, and we can add another loop here. And we can mark this loop as a scene. Let's also grab this loop and mark it as a scene too. Maybe we can scale these two a bit along the x-axis. Make this lamp a bit smoother. That looks good. Now select this loop, mark scene, and one last scene at this loop. Now we're gonna grab both the cat and the lamp and we're gonna move them down to the left and maybe scale them down a bit, because we're gonna be adding some more elements to the scene later on. Alright. Now let's add 3 lights to this scene. It's gonna be 3-point lights. So the first light, I'll be placing it about here with an energy of 3. Second light about here, energy of 1. Let's move the first light above the lamp and also the second light. Now the third light will be behind the lamp. Now let's create a first material for this lamp. So diffuse color will be red 0.8, green 0.58, and blue 0.24 with an intensity of 0.3. Specular light will be a Wardizo shader. The color of red 1, green 0.77, and blue 0.51. Set the slope to 0.15. Can also add this material to the cap. Now let's add some textures. First texture will be a cloud texture, depth of 24. It will be a global texture with a cube projection. Let's uncheck color. Set the normal to 0.1. Best quality and view space. Second texture will be used to create the reflections into this lamp. So it's gonna be an image texture. I'll be placing a link into the video description so that you guys can access all of the images that I'm using as you're modeling along. It's gonna be an image of a kitchen. Set saturation to 1.2. And it's gonna be a reflection texture. Can already take a look. So it's already looking pretty good. We're gonna add some decorations into this lamp. So let's add another material, and we're gonna copy first material, paste it. However, we're gonna remove the first texture and replace it with an image texture of patterns. We're gonna be using this one here. So we need to add this material to the lamp, and we can actually remove it from the cap. Let's select the faces that we're gonna assign this new material to. Can remove the subdivision so we can see what we're doing better. And let's assign those faces to this new material. Now let's go into UV editing mode and unwrap these faces. And scale them up a bit to grab more of the texture. Now let's deselect the lower faces. We're gonna extrude these faces twice, just a little bit. Okay, so let's uncheck color here. Check normal. Set normal to -0.2. Best quality, view space. And there we go, the lamp is decorated. Now let's animate this scene a little bit. So we're gonna be adding some smoke coming out of that lamp. Nice blue magic smoke. So let's add a circle. Now we're gonna scale down, rotate it, and put it just here at the opening of the spout. So we're gonna be adding some materials into that circle. First material will be a halo material. Actually, they're all gonna be halo materials. So alpha to 0, color black, size 0.1, hardness 1. We're gonna check texture, shaded, and soft. Let's add some textures into this material. The first texture will be an image texture. Again, there will be a link into the video description to get this image. We're going to be grabbing this one here. Check ramp. First color stop will be transparent and the second color will be 0.41, 0.51 and blue of 1. It's gonna be a generated texture with a flat projection, and the blend type is set to overlay. Now let's add another texture. It's gonna be a blend texture. I'm gonna be renaming this one to alpha over life. So this texture will be controlling the visibility of the particles over their lives. They're gonna start fully visible and fade to transparency at the end of their lives. So let's check ramp. We're gonna flip this. So alpha at 1 at the first color stop and at 0 at the second color stop. Coordinates will be strand particle, and check color and check alpha. I'll add another texture. This one will be named size over life. I'm gonna check ramp and select ease this time. Gonna add a color stop that we're gonna place at 0.42. So the first color stop alpha 0, second color stop alpha 0.008, and the final color stop alpha 0.01. Okay, strand particle as coordinates, uncheck color, and check size as the influence. Now let's add a final texture, also a blend texture. We name it add over life. Check ramp. I'm gonna flip this over. First color stop and alpha of 1.5. Second color stop alpha of 0.5. So what this means is that the particles will be very additive at the beginning of their lives. So the blue will become white, and at the end of their lives, they'll remain blue. Use strand particle as the coordinates, uncheck color, and check add as the influence. Now let's add a second material, third and fourth material. We're gonna be using 4 in total. They're all gonna be halo materials. So alpha 0, color black, size 0.08, hardness 0, add 0, check texture, shaded and soft. So we're also gonna be adding 4 textures here. First texture will be an image texture. Let's put an image of a smoke particle. This one here. Check ramp. First color stop transparent. Second color stop is red 0.16, green 0.41, and blue 1. It's gonna be a generated texture. Gonna set the blend method to overlay. Now second texture. We're gonna be using alpha over life. And make sure it's mapped and influenced correctly. As you can see, we need to select strand particle here, uncheck color, and check alpha. Second texture will be add over life. Again, make sure it's mapped and influenced correctly. Only add should be checked here. And the last texture will be a blend texture. I'm gonna rename it size over life 2. It's gonna be a bit different from the other one. So first color stop at 0 and the second at 0.02. Pick strand particles or coordinates, uncheck color, and check size as the influence. And for the third material, we're gonna copy the second and paste it here, and also paste it on the fourth. However, we're gonna change the first texture, use a different image of another smoke particle. So first color stop transparent, second color stop red 0.29, green 0.56, and blue 1. It's a generated texture with a flat projection, and the blend method will be overlay. And the last material, also gonna do the same thing. So remove the first texture and replace it with another image of another smoke particle. Check ramp. First color stop fully transparent. Second color stop red 0.33, green 0.60, and blue 1. It's gonna be a generated texture with a flat projection. And the blend method will be overlay also. So now that we've got all these materials here, we're gonna add 4 particle systems. So let's increase lifetime to 200, random to 0.6, normal to 2, Brownian to 10, uncheck emitter. Make sure it's got the first material of the circle and set gravity to minus 0.2. Let's try playing this. Okay, they're flowing into the correct direction. Now a second particle system. We're gonna set the seed to 1. So the system is a little bit different from the first one. Number will be 35. Lifetime 200. Random 0.6. Normal 2. Pick the second material of the circle, uncheck emitter, set gravity to minus 0.2. Third particle system, seed set to 2, so that it's a bit different from the others. Number 35, lifetime 200, random 0.6. Normal 2. Set the third material of the circle, uncheck emitter, set gravity to minus 0.2. And the last particle system, seed to 3, number 35, lifetime 200, random 0.6, normal 2. The fourth material of the circle, uncheck emitter, gravity to minus 0.2. Now let's try this. Alright, they're all flowing up. I'm already trying measuring them. But like this, it's really not what we're looking for. I'm gonna be adding an effect into the movement of those particles. For this, let's add an empty object that we're gonna try placing about here. Add a force field. It's gonna be a vortex type with a shape of a plane in flow 1, noise 2. Let's rotate it 90 degrees along the y-axis. You can see now the particles flow into some sort of vortex. But maybe they feel a bit too high out of the scene, so let's bring it down a bit. Let's render this. You can see we've got a few problems with the first material, it seems. Let's go and take a look. Is it correctly mapped? First particle system. Okay, material 8. Alpha. Into the texture. think it's the size. Let's try removing. Yeah, what happens? Yeah, for some reason, it's not gaining size. Ah, there we go. Had picked the wrong texture, one that belonged to a material that no longer existed. It's another thing you gotta pay attention to. So now let's enable all the materials. Render again. And this time it looks correct. Now we can have a look at a video of the final render. This is about what you should be getting. Could be a little different because there is some randomness set into the particle movement. But you should obtain something very similar to this. So this concludes our Magic Lamp tutorial. If you're interested in watching more 3D modeling tutorials with Blender, please visit my YouTube channel. And until then, happy modeling, everyone.